Okay, in this demo, what we're going to do is go over Amazon Bedrock Agentcore samples. This repository is provided by Amazon. We're looking at this folder here, Transform Open API into MCP Tools. We're using a Python package manager. We could see in the command line that we are using this virtual environment. We're using Jupyter notebooks, and this is one of the notebooks in the project. And I open it and I see, the markdown and also the code in this particular notebook. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through it and just try to understand what it is and what we're trying to learn here. So first of all, looking at the architecture, let's take a look at the architecture here. So basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an agent. Maybe in this case, it's a Strands agent. We're calling it an MCP client. We're hitting on a URL, which is when we create Agentcore Gateway, we create this MCP URL to access the gateway. And in the inbound, we're using OAuth token to authenticate into Agentcore. And here we're listing tools, invoking tools, searching. We're using the streamable HTTP connection. And why is this important? It turns out that we put the JWT bearer token when we connect, so it could authenticate. Now, inbound auth uses Agentcore identity, which loosely speaking allows you to plug in Cognito into Agentcore and protect your Agentcore gateway via Cognito. And so it turns out that my credentials on my desktop, when I create Cognito, my user is the user on my desktop in my credential file. So when I authenticate against Agentcore, I do get access to Agentcore. And that's kind of like magic. I'll show you the code, but that's what's happening. Now for Agentcore outbound to call a web service, in this case here, we're going to call something like a Mars Insight weather tool. And we're going to go get an API key to use to hit on the external API. And so there's a tool there which is being used to get the weather for in Mars. So that's basically what we're doing. This is a NASA API tool we're using, and we could actually use that. Okay, so that's what this is. I suggest you read all this markup. Create tools for my gateway, create a gateway endpoint, add targets, update your agent code. Loosely speaking, this is what it is. Okay, so let's look at the tutorial details. We're working with Agentcore Gateway components and Agentcore identity. We're using a Strands agent. We're using a gateway target type, which this is Open API. The last one we did was Lambda. So keep that in mind. Agents, a Mars weather agent. We have inbound IDP, which is Amazon Cognito. We're using an outbound API key for the weather service, the NASA weather service. And we're using an LLM model, which in this case is Nova Pro. We should be switching it to Claude to test it to see whether there's any difference. And tutorial components are creating an Agentcore Gateway, invoking the Agentcore Gateway. This is an easy example, only because it's set up for us and we could actually hit on it, but it is easy. The SDK uses Boto 3, and we're using Jupyter Notebooks, Package Manager, AWS Credentials, and Amazon Cognito. So what we're going to do is, and notice I have the requirements file here. I have a utils Python file here, which I put here myself. This is actually down here, and this code wants to access this one. But I put it up here so I could make sure that I don't have any problem with that, and you'll see why I did that. Well, let me explain. There's a utils package in the package manager that's already installed, and there's a utils Python code here which creates a Cognito user pool, and then there's one here. So really, in reality, this one is checked first, then this one is checked, and then if it can't find it, it'll look in the package manager for the different packages that are installed. Where there's a utilities package, which is not what we want. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to first do this. Let's see what happens. I'm going to run this cell. As you can see here, it's installing the Python kernel, the Jupyter Notebook kernel, and it needs to invoke that before I could do anything with these cells. So right now what we're doing is waiting for that to install. And once that installs, I believe the pip install would happen automatically. Let's see if that happens. Okay, it took 31 seconds. Now it installed it, now it's starting it. I believe it was already installed. It's just that it keeps it keeps making sure that we're using the right software for the project, so it reinstalls it. And notice here we have a force reinstall, but I've installed this like 10 times already. So the packages in this file, let's bring it up. Let's wait for the kernel to be started. Okay, so that my file came up, and I could see that we're installing Strands Agent, Strands Agent's tools. You can go look and see what's in the tools, right? There's a calculator there, and there's other tools there. There's a package manager for Python, an SDK for Python, Bedrock Agentcore, where you can get the control object and create a gateway and stuff like that. Then there's a starter toolkit, which is used for different tools in Agentcore. So let's see what we have here. So it looks like the kernel is running now. It's telling me to install this. I'm just going to install it because I want to do whatever it takes to run this project successfully. And it is true that I do have to install that. Okay, so let's run this. So now we're forcing installing all of now this is where I get these warnings and I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the story. So I'm gonna let me see if I could go to preferences here just to see what environment I'm running here. Notice I'm in this virtual environment. So let me see Python interpreter. So here I'm in Agentcore example, so I am in the right place. What you'll find is eventually, you get these warnings and stuff like that. Just move forward. I shouldn't be seeing these. And if I fixed this yesterday. It was looking at it was giving me the same error for Python 3.12, but I'm not going to bother with it now. I just want to give you the demo and show you how this works. And you know, our goal is to learn how to use Agentcore with these demos that we're doing. It's not to get boggled down by infrastructure and really do a proof of concept of everything going on at Amazon. I am pointing to my Amazon environment, which is in my Amazon account. Now I don't know what happened here. Let's just see what happened. So there's some incompatibility with OpenTelemetry, and I don't want to be bothered with this right now because this is used to run remotely. I'm a little bit upset that I'm seeing an error here, but I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, here's the okay. Let's do this because I just this will still run, but I'm getting an error here. And what I want to do is do this again. I want to run this. So basically, since I'm forcing reinstalling, I always have some problem or another. The demo will work. It's just I just want to make sure that we're doing things correctly here. So this is correct. I'm going to run this again. So I don't want to discourage anyone. For the most part, these demos work seamlessly, but you have to make sure that you're pointing to the right virtual environment, and you have to make sure that the virtual environment has the packages. And this force reinstall, it might be used because if a different folder and package is updated and it uses a certain version of Agentcore, it wants to reinstall everything so that we have everything updated. But if you look at this environment, and you look at the libraries, you'll see the site packages that we're trying to install. So like Bodo 3, and we're forcing reinstall. So I don't know why we're getting these warnings. If I look it up, I could probably solve it. I did yesterday, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I don't see anything red over here. Let's see this. Let's just wait for this installs to happen, and then I'll see if there's anything red. But I am anxious to get through this demo and see all the cells work, because I've done it several times. It's just it's kind of sad. It's kind of makes you appreciate pipelines because I have to make sure that my Python install is using my virtual environment. I have to make sure my kernel runs. I have to make sure my notebooks run. And I just noticed PyCharm up here looks like it's a trial, so I have to pay for that soon. Okay, so that worked. So I have an incompatibility here with the open telemetry, and basically that's for observability. Sometimes that's using the command line for the container that's being deployed, and I don't believe this folder falls into that um, category. So I'm not going to worry about that. Let's execute this. This is just setting the environment to the East region because Cognito needs it. And then let's execute this. Okay, all this does is it looks at the path. And it inserts the utilities directory as the first searchable in the path. So in reality, it's basically saying search this utils first. Then if you don't find it, get this utils. And if you don't find it, go into my package manager and use the utils package. But that's a different utils package. And what this utils package is, it's a Cognito utils package. Let's say it creates a Cognito user pool. So that's why I want it. And here we got another supported version match. I'm going to ignore it. Now let's run this cell. Create an IAM role for the gateway to assume. This looks like it's a Lambda gateway role. I don't think I'm using this, but let me run it. Because this is not using Lambda, this is using an API. So it might use the same role. Let me just run it. We have a Lambda gateway role. This is the role name. And I'm finished with the check mark here. It's finished. So now I got to create the Cognito pool for inbound authorization. So I click this. Okay, and I've done this several times. So basically what this does is define the pool name, the server ID, etc., the scopes. Beautiful. It creates a client, an IDP client that we use, and it creates a discovery URL, and it gives us a client that we could use to call Cognito. So basically, if I use this client ID and I use it as I get the JWT token and use it and pass it in as a bearer token, I can access the gateway. But now the gateway needs an authorizer. So here I'm creating the gateway. I'm going to make sure that I use a JWT authorization for this particular client. So here I'm creating the gateway. Let me click on it. Okay, so I got an error. So let's see what happened here. What I'm going to do is go up here. I'm going to go up here. I'm trying to figure out whether creating or retrieving, it found a resource. Let's just see something here. I'm going to change the user pool name just for fun. And I'm going to run this. I think it created a different client, and let's just see if I can create the gateway now. Oh, so this, let's look for this name. Oh, well, let's do this. Let's change the name. There is a cell at the bottom of this sheet which allows you to delete resources, and it doesn't appear to be cleaning up everything. So what I do is I change names of resources so I could possibly get through the error. So here, I changed the name of my gateway. I should go onto my Amazon account and see what kind of junk I'm producing, and so I don't get charged for it. But I don't have time to do that right now. But notice I have the Cognito discovery URL. I have the client ID, I have the gateway ID. Notice the gateway URL has an MCP on it. So now my Strands agent's going to call this MCP URL to talk to the gateway. And the reason why it wants to do that is because MCP is a model context protocol. MCP allows you to discover and then use an endpoint. So there's a lot of benefits to MCP, and since it's simple, we're using it. And that was the demo of this demo, was to create an MCP protocol which uses an API through Agentcore. So we're going to talk to this. Okay, now this says transforming NASA open APIs into MCP tools using Bedrock Agentcore Gateway. So we do have an API, a schema. I'll show you what the schema looks like. It's here. It's this particular file. And let's see, my key name has a 2 at the end of it. Let me make sure. Let me make sure that works. Let's just do it and see if it works. Okay, let's see. Where did I? Define my key. This is my key. Let me try giving it a different name, but turns out we might have to get another key. Oh no, that key worked. So yes, I'm having a resource name clashes. This is the same problem you get with Terraform. You run Terraform with an AP with a secret key, and then you go and delete the stack and recreate it, but the key doesn't delete. The resource name is still reserved, so you got to be careful with that. And so basically what I did here is I used Bedrock Agentcore Control to create a credential provider which has the access key. This access key, I went to NASA API and I got it. It's very easy. You go to this URL, fill out a little form, and you get emailed this key. Hopefully this key still works. So we're using Pretty Pin here, which and then we have a provider, and so we have this information here, which is using an API key with this name. And now it has the credential provider ARN to be this. So let's not worry about that. The architecture diagram is still true. Now we're going to create the open API target. Now basically, let's just execute it and see what happens. So what this did is it stored my API file in a bucket. Look at this API file. This is an API schema file. This has the URL to access the weather API. What should appear here is the Swagger UI. But yeah, notice I'm on this Macintosh. It's got a terabyte of disk space. It's got 8 gig of memory. But this is still running pretty slow. So, but I decided to use Unix for these demos, and so what we're using it is NASA Insight Mars Weather API, and what we're doing is we're going to get it using an API. But the API is wrapped with this MCP context. So when we talk to the Agentcore Gateway, we're like, give us the list of tools. And it gives us the API that we have access to and tells us information about it. So keep in mind that that's part of what we're doing with this demo. Okay, let's get back to the so this is the API, which I don't know too much about, but it's trying to get the weather on Mars, and it's limited. I know it's limited because it gets the weather on Mars, and what we're trying to do, we asked him to get the weather in the north region of Mars, and it doesn't work. But the API tool is all we have at this moment. So let's see. What it did is it uploaded the schema file to S3, and it used my credentials out of my credentials file. My code is running on my laptop, and it's getting my identity of my account, and you'll see later on it's printing out my account number. Oh, here it is right here. This is my Amazon account number. It's interrogating my credential file and showing me my account number. Okay, so let's go here. Configure the outbound auth and create the gateway target. What is the gateway target? Okay, this is the API, right? So let's go back up here to the diagram. The gateway target. The gateway target is here. Here, a user might be asking a client for something. The agent is the MCP client, which is talking MCP to the Agentcore Gateway. If it says list tools, it's going to go to the Open API target and get the tool and show me how to use the tool. So keep that in mind, that those architecture diagrams are really important. So we created the gateway. We ran this. Now we're configuring the outbound auth and creating the gateway target. So let's see what we did here so far. We created the Open API target. We transformed the Open API to MCP tools. We created the gateway. So basically, now we're going to configure the gateway. Notice I did. Notice I'm gonna scroll up a minute. Notice I did use up here. I did use the Bedrock Agentcore control. That allows me to configure the gateway and update the gateway any way I want to. So this ACPS, creating the prevent credential provider. it's worth going through this and really understanding what you're doing and what order you're doing it, because this project has been given to us and everything's working. So okay, so I didn't execute this. What does this thing do? Let's see. It creates an API key credential config, and it looks at the open API through an S3 URL. It looks at the target config. It creates a credential config, and it calls the target demo open API target S3 NSMRs. Let's see, and it creates the gateway. It uses the gateway ID, the target name, the target config. Here it's creating the gateway target. So we're doing this after we created a gateway. Okay, that didn't run, so let's go and run it. It's run. Now calling Bedrock Agentcore Gateway from a Strands agent. So basically what we want to do is create a Strands agent and call the gateway. So let's see what this does. This gets the token from Cognito. And now here is where we import the Bedrock model using the Strands model. We create a client, which is a streamable HTTP, and we import MCP client. So we have to create this streamable HTTP transport because we're putting the JWT token here. That's how we're authenticating. This JWT token came from Cognito. I just produced it. Now I'm passing it in. The client is an MCP client. I'm pointing to the transport, the MCP protocol. And I have the client. Now I need the model. I point to Nova Pro with the temperature of 0.7. Now the temperature could vary. The closer it is to zero, the more precise it is, the larger it is, the more variation we'll get. But it doesn't really matter. We have one tool and we're going to call it. Okay, so this isn't executed. Let's execute this. I must say that when this works, I'm very grateful that this is working. This is code I'm learning. I'm using this code that already works. And the little problems that I do have, I still struggle with. It has to do with the runtime, the package dependencies, and making sure everything is not, all the resources are cleaned up, which is a little bit, I haven't been paying too much attention to. Right now, I'm not going on my Amazon account to do anything. All I'm doing is running and deploying things in my account and getting the results. So that's a beautiful thing too, because who wants to go into Amazon right now? Okay, so let's look at this. This is creating a Strands agent, and it sets up a logger for Python with a basic config, and it takes the client. Let's run it while we're here. The longer it takes, the better off we are, because what it does is it gets the tools. So this client is talking MCP to the Agentcore server. It's authenticated, and it says, give me the tools. I wouldn't be able to get the tools if I was not authenticated. So I'm getting them. And now the agent puts the tools here, and the agent is instantiated with the model and the tools. So when you think of an agent, think of the LLM model and the brains of the agent, and basically the reasoning and intelligence that the agent has based on the LLM model. If you ask the agent something that the tool doesn't provide, it'll give you some other answer, because LLM models are smart, but not that smart. It doesn't know about NASA's API. But if you give it a tool, a list of tools, and you ask for what the weather is on Mars, it'll say, let me look at the tools first and see if I could answer this question. And your model could be different. So print tools loaded. And then what it says is, the agent says, hi, can you list all the tools available to you? What is the weather in northern part of Mars? The agent's asking this. Doesn't mean you're going to get an answer. So keep that in mind. And then here's a little a snippet of tool. It says call the tool with these IDs. So this is the ID, this is the target name, and this is the arguments. Now, I'm going to make a loose statement here, okay? This is so we get the result, okay? And if it doesn't find a tool, like I said, you get a long-winded result that doesn't answer the question, because the LLM model might not have the answer. So it most likely does not have the answer, because who knows what the weather is on Mars at this point, except NASA, which has that API. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Okay, I mentioned something about the metrics client and the telemetry, and I don't really care. That's on Amazon, showing me metrics and observability, and right now I'm just trying to use this code, and I need to understand. Okay, so the first thing it says is, it's thinking, I need to list all the tools available to me. The tool list is provided in the instructions. Okay, so it lists the tools. Demo, Open API, Target, S3, NASA, Mars, Get Insight Weather. This tool retrieves the latest Insight Mars weather. It requires the parameters, the version. See, I didn't realize this till now, that you can't call the tool. If it's requiring the version, you have to pass in the arguments. So you have to do something here. Although the intelligent system should be able to figure out it's the only thing I could call, but the API requires that. Okay, so now it says it's thinking. The user is asking for the weather in the northern part of Mars. However, the available tool only provides the latest Insight Mars weather data, which is specific to the location of the Insight lander and does not specify the northern or southern part of Mars. Therefore, I cannot directly provide the weather for the northern part of Mars using the available tool. Okay, and basically tells me this. This is printing the result, and we've basically gone through the demo. So now I'm going to clean up. I'm going to clean up as much as I can, but I should go on. Right now I could go on to Amazon and actually show you my Agentcore Gateway, my Cognito instance, and based on what I'm seeing here, I'm probably not deleting the Cognito user pool. So I probably have like 3 or 4 out there right now. It's I'll have to verify that, right? This thing here, let's see what this is. Deleting all targets. Deleting a target. Deleting a gateway. It doesn't say it's deleting the user pool. So my guess is that when I go through this demo again, I will have a problem because the pool ID is used. The Lambda role ID is used. So there's some things I should update this cleanup so it deletes everything. Anyway, that's all you wanted to do for the demo. I hope you enjoyed it. keep in mind that the most important thing here is to set up PyCharm. Make sure you could run the notebooks. Make sure that the package and virtual environment set up. I did that at the samples level. All these tutorials are underneath the samples directory, so be careful with that. Okay, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.